Hello, and welcome to the Outdoorsy Diva podcast. I'm your host, Lauren, the Outdoorsy Diva. Thanks for joining. What's up? What's up, y'all? Hey to all my adventurers. Thank you for joining me for episode 15. Today, we're going to do one of the segments that I've yet to have a chance to do. It was always my intention to bring you behind the scenes stories about a lot of my travels and adventures. And now we are finally getting to it, and I've got some great ones to share with you. I do share a lot of my personal things that happen on my trips and my travels because the name of the blog is Misadventures of an Outdoorsy Diva. So that's the whole premise, is that I am an expert in nothing. I research as much as I can and I plan things, but inevitably things just go left. It just happens. But there are some things that I don't get a chance to share. And a lot of times it's just simply a time thing. I don't have time. I can't fit it into the post and it's just too long. And oftentimes, if I'm doing something that's been sponsored by a brand, then I try to stay true to what the intention was and the spirit of that content that I'm creating for that brand. And so it just may not be appropriate to share certain things, but man, it's a lot of the things that happen are just too funny and entertaining not to share. So I thought the podcast would be the perfect format to be able to bring you some of those stories and behind the scenes things that a lot of people don't know have gone on and happened on my travels and adventures. So today we're going to talk about one of my most popular blog posts ever in the history of the site. It's been 5 years now, and this one is definitely in the top 3. We're going to talk about that one time that I went to visit a nude resort. Yeah, a nude resort. That's what we're going to talk about today. I get so many questions on that particular post, whether it's in my inbox, and it's funny. Y'all are so funny. So I don't get the questions on the comments that are publicly visible on the post, right? No. Y'all slide in my DMs, in my comment box, with the questions you want to know about this trip. Or if I run into someone or I see people in person who are readers of the blog, this is the one they'll bring up. And this trip happened like 3 years ago. And they'll be like, girl, remember that time? So tell me about this nude resort. And I'm like, really? And it's people that are so unsuspecting that you are not expecting to start asking you about your trip to the nudie ranch. So this episode, we are going to get into the common questions I get. Why did I go? Were there any Black people there? I will share some really funny stories with you about what happened in that weekend. And I will answer the most pressing question of, did I get naked too? I'm going to spill all the tea about this trip on this episode. So before we get into it, we are going to take a little bit of a break for an announcement. Stay tuned. Before we jump right into that topic of discussion, I did want to take a moment to tell you that I will be a speaker at the Florida BlogCon conference. This is happening in Orlando at Mainsail University on September 7th. Florida BlogCon is a great one-day conference that's held in Central Florida. It's packed full of workshops on all types of topics, ranging from pitching to podcasting, and it's for beginning bloggers as well as experienced bloggers. The session I will be presenting will be on growing your brand through podcasting. So if you'll be in the Central Florida area during that time, it is definitely something worth checking out. Again, the website to get tickets is floridablogcon.com. All right, you guys, so are you ready for this tea? I'm sure that you are. So the first question, why did I go? Why did I take my little self to a nudie resort here in Florida? What made me do this? Well, it's actually a really funny story of how I got this invite. Yes, this was an actual sponsored trip. It was sponsored, paid for. I was invited to go to be a guest and then share this experience with my readers. And it came about because I went on another dinner trip, and I met this lady who represented a PR firm, and she represents this nudist association that this particular resort belongs to. So anyway, I went to this dinner somewhere in Florida. I'm not gonna disclose the locations, but I went to this dinner, met this lady, who was also representing the restaurant that we were at. Had a great time. The food was flowing, the drinks were flowing. A lot of y'all that may not realize, you should know by now though, like I'm silly. Like I'm really silly. I'm a really funny person. Like I can find humor in pretty much everything, and it doesn't matter the environment I'm in, right? Like I'm gonna be me, and I guess people tend to gravitate towards that, which I don't know, sometimes it's good and it's bad, because I think I'm an introvert with extroverted tendencies. But in any case, for whatever reason, these older white people loved me. Like, there's no other way to put it. They did. They loved me. They gravitated toward me. We had such a great time. It was a lot of fun. And after the event, she reached out to me via email, like, thank you so much for coming. I'm so glad I met you. Hey, by the way, one of my other clients is a nudist resort, and I think you'd be a great fit to have this kind of adventure to share with your readers. What? How did we go from dinner and drinks to Outdoorsy Diva would be the perfect candidate to visit a nudist resort? I don't know what I said or did, or the vibe I gave off that said that's my thing, but okay. So I didn't quite know how to respond to that. It was weird, y'all. To be honest, it was kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie. I can't front. I didn't know what to say. So I'm reading it, but my message on the blog is always about stepping out of your comfort zone, pushing yourself, pushing boundaries, having new experiences, living for the right now, not letting opportunities pass you by. Like, that's my mantra. That's what I preach. My actual mantra on the blog says adventure is a lifestyle. So here I am, presented with this adventure that I have never had before, and honestly wasn't really on my list of adventures to have, but it was presented to me, right? And it was definitely going to push me out of my comfort zone. It was 100% out of my boundaries and my scope and realm of reality. So how could I say no? It's not something that was going to hurt me or harm me. How could I say no? And of course, the initial thoughts were, what's my mama gonna think? What are the people at church gonna say? What's my sorority gonna think? All of these other people that I'm beholden to in terms of, my image. Honestly, it's not the brand. And I had to think about that too. And that's another thing for you other bloggers, content creators, influencers, whatever title you want to give yourself today. But we do have to be cognizant of opportunities that we accept, and does it fit with my brand? Is this something that I want my brand associated with? Outdoorsy Diva, it's mine. She's my baby. That's my brand. That's my brainchild. And no one's going to protect it like I will. So I had to have a real conversation with myself of, do I want the Outdoorsy Diva brand associated with a nudist resort? To some of you, you're thinking, well, why wouldn't you? What's the big deal? But if it's something you know nothing about, my immediate thought was things like, hedonism, or, I live in Tampa, so up north in Lutz, there's this place called Caliente, and they tend to have a little bit of a reputation when it comes to that nudist lifestyle, where you think of like orgies and swingers. The swingers is probably the biggest stereotype and misconception about the nudist or naturist, as some of them like to be called, community. So I had to think about those things, and me not having a lot of knowledge about that lifestyle or that industry. I had to do a little bit of research, just to see, I'm not trying to mess up my coins. And at that time, I was still very, very new and green in terms of the blog and figuring out how to monetize and turn this into a business. And so I didn't want to do anything to mess up the little bit of coins that I had gotten, and certainly didn't want to do anything that would jeopardize my ability to capitalize or have my brand work with anyone else later on who may have any type of stipulations, just about the kind of content that I have on my site, because there are certain brands that only want to work with quote unquote wholesome brands, or brands that don't have R-rated type of content, etc. So those are things I had to think through before I make the decision of what I accept. And I also knew this is something that I could not do by myself. I know I preach about solo travel and doing things by yourself. Well, this ain't one of them. I needed a buddy. I needed somebody to support me. I also needed somebody who would not let me chicken out. So, of course, when I wrote back initially, the first question that I asked was, is the expectation that I too have to be naked, or am I going to be in clothes and I'm just observing everyone else be naked? Like, how does this work? So, she explained that clothing was optional. It was encouraged that I would fully immerse myself into the experience for the weekend, but at no point would it be considered a requirement, and it wasn't contingent upon me agreeing to do that as to whether or not they would still agree to host me. So it's something that they were still 100% willing to have me come, even if I wasn't comfortable, partaking and stripping down and taking my clothes off. So that made me feel a lot more comfortable, that I didn't have that pressure. And I reached out to a very, very near and dear store friend, sister of mine, who is my adventure buddy on a lot of my trips. And I knew that this actually was on her list. And so I knew that she would say yes without a doubt. And she'd be like, hell yeah, we're doing this. We're going. So that is how it came to be. This is how I got the opportunity to visit a nudist resort. Were there any Black people? Is this something that Black people do? Do we get down with the naturist community? Well, the short answer to that, on this particular trip, I was Black, and my homegirl that I brought with me was Black. And yeah, that's it as far as people staying on the resort property. Now, they did have a volleyball tournament going on. Yeah, it's a thing that they have at different properties. So this property happened to be the host of a big volleyball tournament, which brings in a more diverse crowd, not only in ethnicities, but also in age. So the demographic for most of the patrons, the people who were either vacationing at the resort or longtime residents, they actually have people who live there full time. Those people are what you would expect, old white people. But for the volleyball tournament, we did see a couple of Black guys who are on the volleyball team. Now, in general, is this our shtick? Is this our thing? I wouldn't say from a majority standpoint, nah, just let's be honest. No, not really. But there is a community of Black people who do enjoy the nudist lifestyle. And if you are so inclined, you can find these groups just like you find niches for everything else: the internet, social media, Reddit, Facebook, those are your friends. There is a group that I joined before my trip just to get advice and insight on Facebook. I believe it's a secret group, so I'm not going to disclose the name on the podcast, but if you want to shoot me an email to podcast@outdoorsdiva.com, I will be more than happy to pass that information along to you if you are so inclined and really interested about the lifestyle. This particular group plans trips all over the country and even some international trips to partake in visiting places that are other nudist resorts or nude beaches where they can be in the buff. No, I have not joined them on any of their trips so far, but it is a pretty interesting group of people to get to know. So, funny stories. Oh man, there's so many. I think one of the really crazy things that we both noticed was that, you're out and about all day in your skibbies, scantily clad, and then we come back to the room and put on full clothes. So it's so weird to get dressed when you come back after you've been pretty much not dressed all day, because it's just not our thing, right? That's not our norm. We weren't gonna sit around in our apartment but booty naked on the couch. It's not our lifestyle. So it was just funny. It's kind of funny, but it was also kind of terrifying. This particular property is very family friendly, and as I said, they do have permanent residents. You have people who raise their children in the naturist or nudist lifestyle. These kids grow up this way. That's all they know. This is comfortable to them. It's not weird or sexualized. It's just nudity. And so you will see families at some of the resorts that are family friendly. And I have to say, it was a little weird to get up and go to breakfast and it's a room full of naked people and boom, kid. It's whoa, complete mind trip. If you are not a part of that culture, you didn't grow up that way, then it's going to be strange to, see boobies and penises and kids. So yeah, that first time we saw that was a complete shock for my friend and I. We were both kind of weird. And then I think the absolute funniest thing from this experience, I learned so much more about the male anatomy than I knew that I knew. I mean, I'm not green by any stretch of the imagination, but I didn't know the variety of shapes and sizes, and it was just weird, yo. It was weird. We saw some crazy stuff, and we saw everything from tattooed to pierced to damn near skewered. We saw uni balls, we saw micro peens, we saw some of everything. And here's a behind the scenes story that I have not said publicly before. So my friends knew that I was going on this trip, and in one of our group chats, they created a personalized bingo game of things that they thought I may see at a nudist resort. And so when I saw one of the things, I just had to tell everybody in the group chat. I basically tell them, shouting out what I saw, hey guys, saw micro penis today. Mark it off on your card. You got a stamp today. So, and yes, someone did get bingo before the weekend was over in terms of weird or interesting or unique things that I may see. And given the demographic that was there, older white people, I wasn't ready for all the piercings. My goodness, like they were all over the place with the piercings in the nether regions as well as pierced nipples. So don't let nobody ever tell you that old people lose their I guess I don't even know what the word is. Their spunk, if you will, their spontaneity, their sexual drive. It was all there, honey, for all on display. So that was really, really funny. One of the other funny things was, when we first got there, the person from the property that greeted us was, she was, quote unquote, I say this loosely, you can't see me, but I'm using my air quotes right now. She was clothed. Really what she had on was a sarong that I think she put on just for our benefit. And the people in the front office are all fully clothed. All the employees are clothed, like they're wearing uniforms. You know who works there, who's an employee, who's maintenance, who's serving the food. All those people are clothed like normal. But, and the people in the front office. But the property manager who greeted us and got us checked in, this is her lifestyle, honey, and this is what she does every day. So her putting on this sarong wrap just for us was special, but it was so funny because when we were talking to her, once we got outside, the wind caught her sarong and it kind of like flew up, and so she was clearly naked underneath it. And my friend and I were like, I don't know where to look. I don't know what to do with my eyes. It was just weird, especially when we had just arrived, so we had not gotten acclimated to all of the nudity, and it does take a minute. That's one of the tips I give. If you're gonna do this and go on this adventure and you're new to the naturist lifestyle, take sunglasses, dude, because we're human. It's expected that your eyes are gonna wander and roam all around just because we're natural beings. Like, and if that's not your normal thing, yeah, like penises everywhere is probably gonna catch your attention, especially when you see some you never seen before and honestly might not ever want to see again. But in any case, sunglasses give you a little bit of a poker face, if you will, to if you can't avert your eyes, especially when you're talking to people. It was always like, oh God, where do I look? Because you can't help it. So one of the other really funny things was at the end of the weekend, because they have activities all weekend, and one of the activities was like a party, and it's funny because they were like, put on your fancy clothes, and we're like, wait, what? Well, that has another meaning at a nudist resort. That meant you would see guys wearing button-up shirts and no bottoms. And I was like, of all the things that you think of when you think people are gonna get quote unquote dressed and they might be like partially nude, it's just so funny to see a grown man like, oh, I'm gonna put on this shirt and no bottoms, and not the other way around where like you'd see people in bottoms and no tops. Like, I thought that would be the more that's the expected way that you would see that, but no, absolutely not. Cheeks for days. And the women too, you had a lot of women who might put on like cute sarongs or even like sheer swimming wear, like sheer swimming suit cover-ups, basically. No lingerie or negligees, like that's frowned upon because it's not that kind of place. But people got jazzy, quote unquote, in a really unique and interesting way. And the other really funny thing, we took a country line dancing class because we're just weird like that. It sounded fun. We needed something to do. And again, they're catering to a different demographic than us. So, we didn't have the pick of the litter when it comes to activities, but line dancing, sure, that's fun. We'll do that. So we took a line dancing class. We both had on sarongs that we tied around ourselves, to be somewhat covered. We were nude beneath, but we were covered. Dance class, no cares were given. Some of them had on tank tops and no bottom, and it's just like, well, hell, if you're just gonna be, you might as well be naked. Why even bother to put on the tank top when you cootie cat and your butt's out? But hey, to each their own. But that is what some of them chose to do, and some of them were completely nude. Our instructor, she was adorable. She had on like this little, almost like a little tennis dress kind of, but clearly nothing on the bottom. So if you are a person who likes to go commando, this is the experience for you, because your vajayjay gets to breathe and feel all the air and warm breezes that you would like her to. Other really popular questions I get the pulled aside, girl, so did you get naked too? That's what I get, guys. Even from people who have read the post, I get that question, and I answered the question for you in the post. So the short answer is yes. Yep, we did. Now, what we did, we were nervous. We weren't comfortable at first. We kind of eased ourselves into it. The first time we did get completely nude was when one of the second night, we went to the pool and no one was there. Like, these are old people, y'all. So they gone to bed. Pretty much after 9 o'clock, you had to resort to yourself. So we went out to the pool, like literally complete ghost town, which is complete opposite of how it is during the day. Because during the day, like the pool is popping, like it was full. They have a DJ that was actually playing like good music, current music, having a grand old time. But at night, nothing, complete desert, which was perfect. So that was kind of our first chance to like test this out. So, we went to the pool, we had on our little wraps or whatever, and we took them off at the pool and, hung out and got in, whatever. It was like, okay, I'm out and about. I'm out here. There's nobody here to see it, but my friend and I seeing each other, which we didn't care. We stay together, change clothes in front of each other, so it's no big deal. But with everyone else, this was like our test run to see if the next day we'd be able to get up the courage. So as I said, when we took the class, we had on sarongs. When we went to breakfast, we had on wraps. And I do talk about the whole eating thing in the restaurants. You're supposed to bring a towel with you to sit on so that people aren't leaving their remnants behind. So that is the way they try to have some sanitization that way. So I always sat on something like a towel or something wherever I sat down throughout the property, and that is the policy of the property, and I was sure to observe that. But as far as the nudity part, so at the pool during the day, the rest of the resort is actually clothing optional. Like, you are not, just because you're there on the property, you are not mandated to get naked. Like, that's not something they just did for me. That is their general policy. You're encouraged to, because they want their patrons to feel comfortable. And so if you are the weirdo sitting around fully clothed and everybody else is naked, then it's kind of like, well, what are you doing here? Are you here to just be a peeping Tom, to judge people? And they don't want that. They want a safe, relaxed, comfortable environment. But you can be clothing optional, meaning you can be sort of kind of, maybe it's just the top, not the bottom, or it's something sheer, or you're just commando, or you're not completely 100% nude. At the pool, though, nudity is required to enter the pool. You cannot be in the pool area in the pool with your clothes on. No can do. That's the policy. So that day we finally decided to go ahead and go to the pool, We had to bite the bullet and just put it out there. So we went, we had our towels wrapped around us. We put our towels down. We found our chairs, took our wraps off, and guess what? Nothing happened. No one cares. These people don't give a darn about what you got going on. They don't care. So we got naked and the world didn't stop. The sky didn't fall. No one jumped out from behind somewhere with a camera. And it really wasn't a big deal. And it was like, oh, okay. And it was a little awkward moment. We were laying there just kind of kicking it, listening to music at the pool, whatever. And a couple people stopped by to say hi. Obviously we're the anomaly, right? It's two Black women at this nudist resort who are, not only are we the only two Black women, but we're also extremely young compared to the demographic that's there, okay? We're young enough to be a lot of these people's grandkids. So, yeah, people were just friendly and curious about what brought us there, how we found out about the resort, why we came, and that's fine and dandy. And again, they're having a conversation with you. They're not looking at you in a sexual way. It was just normal human interaction. We did kind of get a bit of a reputation because apparently our dance instructor absolutely loved us. So we got a bit of a reputation because she just couldn't wait to tell anybody, about the spry young whippersnappers that were in her line dancing class because, honey, she was too happy to be able to do some. She said she pulled out her advanced choreography for us. Because I guess, her normal clientele, she has to keep it pretty simple. So we were the exception to that rule. So she told people, so people obviously figured out who we were and they just stopped by to be welcoming and be like, oh, we heard you guys are great dancers, blah, blah, blah. So none of it was in a weird way. But again, if you get over yourself, then you'll be fine and you can be comfortable because nobody's checking for you like that. So I'm asked all the time, is this an experience that you would do again? And my answer is a resounding yes. Y'all, this trip, honestly, I say it's one of those, it was a life-changing trip and in ways I really didn't expect. So it made me feel more confident. And it made me feel grateful to be happy with the skin that I'm in right now. We obsess, especially in this culture today, and especially as women, about what we have and don't have and how we look and stretch marks and dimples and rolls and cellulite and these objects of perfection get thrown out there in front of us in media, in marketing, and the reality is it's not that serious. Like at some point we are all going to go south, and being around everyone at the Nature's Resort was just a stark reminder of that. Like, listen, the body I got right now compared to what it's gonna become, dude, let me enjoy what I have while I have it, while gravity is still on my side and my boobs are not down to my knees. This body will fade. So just enjoy what you have right now. Why am I letting it hold me back from doing things that I want to do because, I gained a little bit of weight with my hormones, or, you had a baby and you got stretch marks and whatever. Like, you know what? Who cares? It's part of life. It's part of being human. It's part of the human experience. So this trip just gave me so much more self-confidence, and it just reminded me to be grateful for the here and the now. And this is why I encourage my readers and everyone to step out of their comfort zones, to push themselves to be uncomfortable, because on that other side of being uncomfortable, a lot of times there is a lesson and growth. There's growth on the other side of being uncomfortable into being the full version of you at your fullest potential and your happiest potential. So that's it about the Nudist Resort trip. It was an amazing trip. You can read all about all the details of the trip, how the accommodations were, the food, the experience. There are pictures. No, not nude pictures. Well, there's nude pictures, but they're not revealing pictures. They're not tasteful. You're not going to go out there and see my tidbits. But I did have to have proof that I did it and that I did the experience, which is why I think it's so funny that people ask me all the time if I actually did it. I'm like, you see the picture? Like, yeah, I don't have on any clothes. Like, I don't know if they thought I only did it for the picture, because of course you don't see any people around. I was only allowed to take pictures in spaces, obviously, where I wouldn't capture any other guests, for privacy reasons, of course. But I did get naked in front of other people. So I guess maybe that's the crux of their inquiry is, did I really do this in front of people? And yes, I did. And I'm happy about it. And you're darn right I'd do it again. And honestly, if you're up for it, I think that you should try it too. So make a point to push yourself, step out of your comfort zones, find something to do in the next month or so that's going to push your boundaries and make you uncomfortable so that you can grow. And I want to know about it. I want to hear about it. You can email me at podcast@outdoorsydiva.com. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, make sure you subscribe to the Outdoorsy Diva podcast. Be sure to check out Misadventures of an Outdoorsy Diva blog on outdoorsydiva.com. You can also keep up with me and my adventures, so check out all of my social channels. Find Outdoorsy Diva on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest.